Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of the EKN Debrief, episode number 99. Tuesday, August the 2nd, as we get set to jump into our race report of the 2022 Superkarts USA Pro Tour finale. The SummerNationals taking place, of course, at Newcastle Motorsports Park this past weekend in Newcastle, Indiana. We'll jump into it. Obviously, championship weekend as well. Let's have a look at our presenting sponsor, though, for today, RaceLab. The new face of competitive karting in the Pacific Northwest region is RaceLab. A full-service karting operation is located at the state-of-the-art Kartplex facility in Oliver, British Columbia, Canada, providing everything you need to hit the track or put yourself in a successful driver development program. RaceLab is the official North American distributor for the TB Kart chassis brand, providing a full range of models from kid kart to shifter kart. Villeneuve Racing Karts is their flagship product, only through RaceLab. The brand carries the name of Formula One champion and Indianapolis 500 winner Jacques Villeneuve, with each model produced by TB Kart. Follow RaceLab on social media on Facebook and Instagram, or load up their website at www.theracelab.ca to learn more about TB Kart and Villeneuve Racing Karts. RaceLab. Race with us, win with us. Well, David, it was a fantastic weekend at the SummerNationals this year at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Weather was pretty darn good. Racing was hectic, aggressive, if anything, but otherwise, just a pretty solid weekend all over.
Yeah, I mean, when you say aggressive, I think we need to kind of put it in a scale factor of 1 to 10. I mean, I don't think it was a 10.
No,
agreed. Maybe more of a 7 to 8.
I like that.
I mean, again, it's the last race in the championship, so guys are going to push that extra little bit. But yeah, overall, great racing. I think overall, when you look in terms of championship battles and on track battles, and Newcastle always provides great racing every time we go, and now we're starting to see, no matter the track layout or direction, we're getting good racing.
I agree. Yeah, just the amount of overtakes, just the different areas, the great battling. It's one of those racetracks, especially in this direction. When you start to defend, when you're a leader, it brings everybody back into the fight. We saw a ton of that this past weekend. Let's set this up. The event, of course, the 2022 SCUSA Pro Tour SummerNationals finale weekend, July 28th to the 31st, Newcastle Motorsports Park, as I said. Rounds 5 and 6 of a 6-round championship. You only counted the best of 5, so everybody kind of coming in with the ability to drop their worst race. David, of course, had the spreadsheet out to make sure we had the unofficial champions by Sunday. The 13th season of the championship, David, of a long-running program. Started back in 2010, but 13 editions closing in, 14 next year, 15 the year after. It's been a really, really stable program for national karting in North America.
Yeah, and the weather was mid-80s all weekend long. It seemed like it was a little bit hotter than that, when you're out on racetrack, depending on the wind conditions. Sunday had a little bit more of a breeze going through, so it made things a little bit cooler than it was on Saturday, and not as humid as years in the past. I mean, we've been there in SummerNationals before, and everybody's got the air conditioners running underneath the tents because it was just so humid. So thankfully we didn't have the humidity this year that we've had in the past.
Well, unless you were up in the tower above the scale house where we were with Kart Chaser. Oh my God, it was hot up there.
I'm glad I bowed out of that location and went to the old attic. Yeah. Where we used to call races from 2004 to, God knows how long, year after year before we started moving over to the Champions Club. So I did not miss that after being up there in 2020 and 2021. Did not miss that at all.
It was a sweat lodge. I lost a bit of weight. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. It was warm. Let's have a look at by the numbers, as we always do every edition of the Debrief. Last year, 253 drivers being part of the action at the SummerNationals. This year, 228 all total. Obviously, one of the drops was the fact that we didn't have the X30 Masters class this year. But across the board, essentially just a small drop, I think, in all but one category. KA100 Junior moving from 34 up to 41. But everybody else, just a small little kind of essentially like about a 10% drop across the board. Micro Swift at about 26. Mini Swift had 32 entries. The X30 Junior and Senior, 20 for Junior, 30 for Senior. That was a great number to be able to go racing with. Pro Shifter, I think, was one of the most exciting parts, David Cole. 23 drivers in Pro Shifter. Man, it was just a ton of fun to watch. It was just a stacked field of great drivers.
Yeah, numbers are good across the board. Really excited. Obviously, had the big cadets, had a lot of 50 X30s overall when you look into different categories. So that's good. And the quality in the X30. That's one of the things I'm really impressed with, is the quality of drivers. Even though we only had 20, but the quality in X30. I mean, probably 70-80% of those drivers could win. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the things of measuring. It's hard to measure that when you look at just numbers. I wish, kind of like our driver rankings, we do base it on, field strength of field and the actual numbers that are in that field. So, that X30, that was probably like a 10 out of 10, really, when you look at that.
Agreed. Yeah. All the big guys.
Across the board. Yeah. Across again, 23, we weren't quite into the 30 that we had last year, but still 23 drivers in Pro Shifter. That was an exciting field to watch. And again, just brought you back to the old days of, the S1 class in Pro Tour when we had a lot of drivers in that category. So, again,
I was going to, and then Master Shifter, it was like a new group of drivers. Yeah, John Crow was in there, but we saw Justin Kelly, we saw AJ Now, we saw a bunch of other drivers kind of jump up there in the top 5, top 10 in the Master Shifter. That made it really exciting. Yeah,
drivers we hadn't seen compared to last year. So again, there's still Master drivers out there. We just got to get them to the racetrack.
Sure.
I think that's kind of the biggest point when you look in Master racing across the country, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But overall, when you look at the Pro Tour, every event over the 200 mark. So again, it's still pulling those big numbers year in and year out. And again, we're into the 13th season now for Pro Tour. When the opening year, 2010, we were lucky to have 100. That was a good number.
Yeah.
When we first started the Pro Tour. Now they're consistently over that 200 mark. Certainly shows the longevity of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour, and hopefully for the future for it.
Agreed. Again, KA 100, very, very strong. All total, 84 total entries with the KA machine. 41 drivers in junior, 43 strong in senior. That made for 2, David, really good races. A lot of karts. You could watch all the way over the racetrack. There's battles going, whether it was for first or 21st. There's some great racing in both those categories.
Yeah, certainly. It's the big pack racing that we are seeing is coming in that KA 100 categories, both senior and junior. Certainly senior, that was a bit chaotic on Saturday, a little bit more subdued, but still a race to the finish line both days, and KA 100 junior as well. With it's like a game of chess. It's a moving game of chess. That's really what KA 100 racing has become.
Let's go to our first break in the action. This edition of the EKN Debrief, episode number 99, as we break down this past weekend Superkarts USA Summer Nationals. When we get back, we'll have a look at the Paddock Pass.
Wins in the sport's biggest races and championships in national and regional series all over the country, they're all on Nitro Kart's growing resume. Nitro Kart continues to make its statement as the best, fastest, and winningest cadet chassis on the American market. In 2021, Nitro Kart won the 3 biggest crowns in America in the Micro Swift division, with Mateo Rosu in the SCUSA Pro Tour and both the SummerNationals and the USPKS titles with Keelan Harvick. At the SuperNats alone, 3 of the top 5 drivers on the podium got there on a Nitro Kart. The results are clear. If you want to win in cadet, get a Nitro Kart and join our team. At Nitro Kart, we're all about driver development. Nick Tucker and the Nitro Crew's racing resumes are extensive, and their passion for helping our kids learn is unparalleled. Racing is about consistent learning, and that's what we're all about here at Nitro Kart. Never wanting to quit, we've continued to extend the reach of our driver development program. In addition to expanding into the junior and senior karting categories, we've also launched Nitro Motorsports, which will field 2 cars this season in the Trans Am by Pirelli series, one being piloted by karting champion Brent Cruz. Not only can we develop your young driver, but we can also provide the platform if a move to cars is in your plan. And our second seat is available. If you're serious about your driver's career, contact us today.
Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and the safety gear you need to get you on the track. Visit shopakr.com for a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure all the latest equipment is available to you, the racer. With over 20 years in business and customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price when you need them. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Make sure to follow Acceleration Kart Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials and new arrivals. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole as we break down this past weekend's Superkarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, the finale of the program. Jumping into the Paddock Pass, some of the information we picked up. It's not really race related, more stuff going on in the paddock itself. This edition of the Paddock Pass brought to you by Comet Kart Sales. History, success, family. These are the three words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding new parts to their product line. Make sure you head to cometkartsales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Well, David, we rolled in there, of course, on Thursday, got right in there Thursday afternoon, Friday, working the paddock, bunch of stuff going on. And one of the stops I made was to talk to Yannick Roland over at Parallel USA, and they're actually focused on already, obviously on 2022, but they're also focusing on the Summer Nationals, the Super Nationals, and development for 2023.
Yeah, they have a lot of entries coming over for Super Nationals, and among them are the karts that they're going to be utilizing, and that's looking towards the 2023 season. Talking with Yannick, he said, having the MG tire being utilized in Europe for a number of races, it's helping the development because they have different track conditions, obviously, than what we have here. So they're able to kind of go back and forth and understand a little bit better. And they're focusing on getting the full size chassis a little bit more developed and a little bit more to the liking for the tires that we do run over here. And so that's kind of been what they've been focusing on moving forward, getting ready for a 2023 season. And then this kart is going to debut at the Super Nationals. They were utilizing it with Zachary Clayman DeMello this weekend and X30 Senior. So again, a lot of focus is always to the future in karting. It's a never-ending cycle, that's for sure.
We already started talking about the Super Nationals, of course, talking to Yannick at Parallel USA about it. They're all thinking about it, talking to some of the teams about how many guys they've got coming in. Had a chance to sit down and talk with Tom Kutcher about it a little bit. And, the amount of entries that came in the first couple of days, the onslaught, David, of entries coming from Australia. They haven't been able to run the Super Nationals for a number of years with COVID. And they were I think 60 of the first 200 were Australians coming in. The X30 Masters class already up to over 30, I think, and it's, of course, only one deal. So that was kind of one of the things we picked up on, David, was the fact that the Masters classes are kind of on the clock right now because X30 Masters looks pretty good. Masters Shifter pretty strong at the Summer Nationals, but we need more drivers coming in. And then Superkarts USA offering up the KA 100 Masters category this year, something new for 2022.
Yeah, it's something that hasn't really been published or publicized or promoted with Superkarts USA is the deadline they have situated for any of the Masters categories. As you were already past that for X30 Master, which was one of the first categories usually to sell out. Now it's getting back into getting the big numbers in that category. The question is Master Shifter and the new KA 100 Master. Are those categories going to reach that 25 pre-entries by August 21st? That's the deadline set out by Superkarts USA that they're looking to make sure that these categories are at least halfway full so they can provide them in the time-limited space that we do have at the Super Nationals. Again, we're looking at how many categories are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 categories again. So it does put a little of a time strain with only KA senior and X30 senior, the only categories they're opening up past the 44 mark.
Well, the crazy thing is, I think the Masters guys, as a whole, as a community, always aren't. They're not in a huge hurry, right? They're not the ones that they're not Europeans trying to get in. Normally, over the last couple of years, Masters really haven't hit the 44 cap really quickly. So guys have had time to take maybe just take your time. Yeah, I'll enter in September. I'll enter in October. I don't need to get it done. SCUSA putting the pressure on it here a little bit and saying, listen, guys, if you guys don't have this class, we're going to add, we'll add another group for micro or for junior or whatever it may be, right? So really, if the Masters guys want to have their time in the sun at the SuperNationals, they got to get off the couch and get entered. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Looking at Master Shifter, I think we're at around 13 drivers right now entered in right now. But talking through the paddock, Jordan Musser's already confirmed he's going to be racing Master Shifter. A couple other drivers as well too that haven't quite entered yet. So we're waiting to got to start pushing them in, such like a Skitchy Barnes, Chris Jennings, some of these guys who have been longtime, Master Shifter drivers. We got to get those entries in. I think, I don't think we're going to hear Ryan Kinnear, but I'm sure a lot of the West Coast guys as well too need to start getting their entries in. I'd like to see Kevin Woods in there as well too. And then KA 100 Master, not a lot of people even know the category is happening right now. So I think that's kind of the major push right now. We've talked to a number of teams that, they're looking at possibly getting 3 or 4 per team there that were at SummerNationals this past weekend. So again, getting the West Coast guys, getting, a dozen from the West and a dozen from the East all entered and get them in the next couple of weeks. And we'll have a category.
Agreed. Yeah, then it opens the door up for any international drivers who want to come over as well. And David, you had mentioned on the weekend with KA 100 Master running in the morning, X30 Master running in the afternoon. I think Master Shifters in the afternoon as well. Those other Masters drivers, if they want, they can do double duty as well.
KA Master is in the morning, and then both X30 Master and Master Shifter are going to be in the afternoon. So that does help in terms of double duty. It kind of hurts anybody that wants to do X30 Master and Master Shifter, but allows certainly a driver to do X30 Master and KA 100 Master or Master Shifter and KA 100 Master. So, there's certainly opportunity. Chris Jennings is a driver looking at possibly doing both Shifter and KA 100. So there's a driver there. We're talking Skitchy Barnes, trying to get him to do both as well too. We got to get. I know Mike Smith probably wants to be on the announcing team again, but I really like to see him racing that KA 100 Master after seeing him pick up that California Rock Championship victory at Pat's Acres. He's certainly among the top 100cc Master drivers in the country. So that's what we got to do. We got to get the best of the best. It's got to be the top gun of 100cc racing there.
That's it. Speaking of Masters racing, one of the cool stories on the weekend was the arrival of Justin and Tiffany Kelly running in the Master Shifter class. We see this, David mentions this husband and wife team that are there, and he talks about the fact that he saw pictures on Tiffany's Instagram feed that she was wearing an Indoor Karting News racing suit. And for those of you, we're talking 13 years ago, I had eKarting. Obviously, we have eKartingNews.com, but I also for a while published a website called IndoorKartingNews.com. We sampled all the local indoor kart tracks. We covered all the leagues that were going on around the country for our partner tracks. And then we eventually did a deal with Rob Niles for the Machismo 500 event, which is an event that they run at Cal Speed. They run, of course, at the Supernats. They did in 2008, 2009. And I had an all-star team for the Indoor Karting News crew, and Justin was one of the guys that won an all-star seat to be part of the Machismo 500 to run in the sport class, and we ended up winning. And Mike Smith was on that team as well. So everything comes full circle. We find out that Justin and his wife are there. I went over and says hi. We hadn't seen each other in 13 years, and just a pretty cool weekend all told. David, he rolls in with he and Tiffany, some CRG chassis. They bought 4 IAME SSC 175s on eBay. He kind of builds his own motors, and then he goes out and ends up winning on the opening day. Just a really good feel-good story for the weekend.
It was. It was again full circle. It got to connect again with somebody we hadn't seen in over 13 years. And just, again, we had a discussion on Thursday about, all the big tents and nobody races out of the back of the pickup anymore. Well, they're racing out of the back of their minivan, camping in their minivan,
sleeping in the minivan,
and having an open trailer, flatbed trailer that they transport their carts with. So again, it does, carts don't matter how you get them to the racetrack. It's just a matter of prepping it, getting the engine right, and making sure that you yourself as a driver are ready to go and ready to compete. That's really all that matters. The rest of it is just, how you feel comfortably off the racetrack really is what it boils down to.
Yeah, one of the cool things, too, is Justin talked about the fact when we were there for the Machismo 500, which ran overnight. It was at the SuperNationals in 2009. SuperNationals went all day long, and then the Machismo ran through the night, essentially from like 6 o'clock at night to the till whatever it was in the morning. I think it would end up being like 8 till 6, around 10 hours or something. Then of course they got off the track and everybody went racing in the morning. Well, when he was there, Justin was saying, "Hey man, I would love to one day get a chance to race at the SuperNationals." Well, 13 years later, they're going to do it. Both he and Tiffany are entered. They're going to run the SuperNationals as well. So they ran the SummerNats. They're going to do. They ran Quincy in the Park earlier in the year. They're going to do Rock Island, and they're going to do the SuperNationals as well. This is just such a fantastic story that we'll key on when we get to Vegas as well.
Yeah, it's not every year you can knock off so many bucket list events, and they're doing it. He's fully committed to motorsports, has a job within the motorsports community. So that certainly helps, and just has a passion. They both have a passion for it, and that's what's really driving them. And we talked to them at the end of the weekend. She was kind of on and off about racing at the SuperNationals. We kept drilling to her, you got to do it. You have to do it at least once, and it's better to go there, experience it, get it done, check it off the bucket list, and then you have the opportunity to do it again. Then you come in feeling a little bit easier and more confident, and then because it's your second time around. So again, check. It's kind of that's the great thing I think really with obviously the pandemic is people are taking advantage of the opportunities that are out there, and that's what really that's kind of a life lesson. It's what you need to do no matter what, what's going on in your life. Make sure that you're enjoying it, having a good time. And you sometimes you just have to do things that seem a little bit crazy, but in the end, you won't look back and regret not doing it.
Yeah, I wholeheartily agree. And here you got Justin and Tiffany staying at the racetrack in their minivan, showering at the track, because of course there's showers at Newcastle, which is awesome. One to cap off the paddock pass here. One of the cool things as well, obviously have brought their own food or went out to dinner, whatever it may be, but they also got a chance to eat twice at the racetrack because Terry Riggins and his crew, they were able to do a dinner. I think it was on Thursday night, and then Scusa with Tom Kutcher and the Dismore family, Mike Adams, they did a full tri-tip and scallop potato dinner on the other night as well. So there was a lot of opportunity for viewer trackside. There's some comp meals from Superkarts USA and everything just to get it all done. It was for the Kellys, obviously cool. For everybody else in the paddock, pretty cool as well.
Yeah, certainly. And again, they make the SummerNationals a must attend event. Newcastle and Mike Adams, everybody there at the track, and then of course, what Superkarts USA has been able to provide. Again, they did a Saturday night dinner between the two of them, and then Terry Riggins, as you said, Thursday night for those who took part in the optional practice day session. So overall, again, it was a busy weekend with a lot of different activities going on. Again, I know I wasn't able to get to see everybody. I got to make the round one day, and that was it. Nonstop busy action throughout the weekend.
It was. All right, let's go to another break, folks. When we get back, time to start going class by class. After this commercial break, we will go into the race report. Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, SuperNationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlson Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. Meticulously engineered and manufactured in Japan, DID genuine parts are the world's #1 original parts supplier for Japanese and European motorcycle manufacturers. A rich racing tradition where results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to longer chain life as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today, because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. Welcome back to episode 99 of the EKN Debrief, our race report of this past weekend Superkarts USA SummerNationals, the Pro Tour finale at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Rob Howden and David Cole here with you. The race report, let's jump into that. But first, we'll talk about the fact that it's presented by Skip Barber Racing School. Are you looking for the next step in racing? Go from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Racing School. Skip Barber alumni are champions in every motorsport series, including Formula One, NASCAR, IMSA, and IndyCar. Get behind the wheel of a Skip Barber Formula 4 car featuring a 160 horsepower turbocharged engine. Our highly structured and competitive Skip Barber Formula Race Series is the perfect platform to start your racing career so you can fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. With equalized race cars and a focus on driver development, your driving skills will determine if you end up in victory lane. Learn more about the Skip Barber Racing School at skipbarber.com or call 866-932-1949. All right, let's dive into it here now as we normally do. I'll throw the class out. I'll give you the headline. David will start filling in some of the information. We'll start with, of course, X30 Pro. And here's the headline: 5 for 5 for Norberg with weekend sweep.
5 and 5.
5 and 5. That's not 5 for 5. It's
five straight victories to end the drive for 5 is essentially what the title is. Yeah.
Wow.
It didn't look that way with Norberg struggling a little bit on Saturday to begin with, ended up 8th in qualifying as Hayden Jones, his RPG teammate, was able to use the draft behind him to set the fast time in the qualifying session, and then held off a charging Norberg in the pre-final for the victory in that race. So RPG was 1-2 and filling up the front row in the main event, and Norberg able to get out and away after some early fighting. Actually, he had a penalty in the pre-final. I forgot about that. So he actually started 4th in the pre-final. But eventually got up into the lead by lap 5 after some early shuffling. A lot of craziness going on in those opening laps. Essentially, Norberg got up into the lead once again by lap 5, and from there was able to drive away. His victory would have been over 7 seconds, but he had a partial pushback bumper due to some of that opening lap skirmish going on, and actually only finished 4 seconds ahead of the field for his 4th victory on the season.
Yeah, Diego Ramos coming in 2nd spot. Hayden Jones still strong. As we said, he qualified on pole, won the pre-final, ended up finishing 3rd in the race ahead of Edward Ports, who had a pretty solid return to the SCUSA Pro Tour, having not driven for a while. Ports finishing in 4th ahead of Jeremy Fletcher, who, David, was the hard charger as well. Fletcher started back in 30th position and drove all the way back up to P5.
Yeah, contact in the opening lap of the pre-final knocked him off the racetrack and out of the race. So obviously a little bit of a less tire wear on his Iveco tires to be able to help knife his way up through the main event in the 18-lap race up to the 5th spot. Again, it was a pretty dicey battle for the 2nd spot behind Norberg, and Fletcher was able to put himself up in that pack.
Pretty good qualifying session on Sunday morning to begin Championship Sunday, but it was actually Blake Nash who laid down the fast lap to grab the P1 in qualifying.
Yeah, draft certainly a big part in the qualifying at Newcastle Motorsports Park with those 2 long straightaways to kind of set your lap up in the national reverse direction. Getting out of 1 is very key because you have that long run down the Big Pond straightaway to I-70 quarter and then I-70 all the way back to scoreboard. Those 2 long straightaways certainly set up a good draft scenario. And I think Blake Nash was able to get himself behind a couple of karts to be able to get a good pull and put down a very good lap. Unfortunately, he got shuffled back to, I believe, 10th in the pre-final. So it wasn't a good race for him as the 4-time champion and then provisional champion at that point. Ryan Norberg was able to put himself up into the lead and score the race win. And again, the main event, they tried to get Norberg early on. Unfortunately, were not successful. And Norberg went on to lead all 18 laps in the main event to score his 5th straight victory to put a big cap on what his 5th Superkarts USA Pro Tour Championship.
Absolutely amazing for Ryan Norberg. Again, running in reverse national at this track at Newcastle. It's a bit of a kink after they get the green, then into the right-hand I-70 hairpin, which really shakes everybody around. If a driver's able to get out cleanly, man, and same thing out of turn number 5, you got a pretty good gap, and that's really what Norberg was able to pull. He really wasn't challenged. 2.9 seconds, as David said, was the margin. Hayden Jones, though, David, able to come back up. There was the racing behind Norberg was fantastic. Frankie Mossman was in there. Pedro Hiltbrand. Jones, as we said, was working his way back forward. It was a pretty aggressive race and just a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, Jones got started, I believe, 11th, so was able to knife his way up into the 2nd spot. Garrison held that position for a little bit before Pedro Hildebrand took over, and then towards the end of the race is when Jones was able to secure that position to get his 2nd podium of the year and essentially put himself on the championship podium as well.
Yeah, indeed. Hiltbrand finished 3rd, Garrison 4th, Mossman in 5th. Hard charge was with Juchak up 18 spots, started 30th and went to 12th. And as you said, Ryan Norberg with the championship, his 5th crown in Superkarts USA Pro Tour competition. Jones with a really great weekend. Again, 6 races all told in the Pro Tour over 3 weekends. You drop your worst. Jones ends up besting Fletcher for the national number 2 plate for next year. And, of course, Jeremy Fletcher, as we said, David, didn't have the best of weekends in terms of results, although that 5th on Friday, rather on Saturday, and he ends up P3 in the title chase.
Yeah, P11 in the main event on Sunday, so that certainly hurt his position as the number 2 and allowed Jones to move up into that slot when we do the award ceremony in Las Vegas at the SummerNationals. So it was overall a good senior season for Jeremy Fletcher, and again, a first full season for Hayden Jones under the RPG tent.
Indeed, yeah. Let's move to Pro Shifter right now. Here's your headline. Kremers and Myers split wins as former world champ adds SCUSA title.
It was a sweep on Saturday and a sweep on Sunday. Saturday was the former FIA karting world champion, Martin Kremers, who was able to secure his 3rd victory of the season, setting fast time in qualifying and winning the pre-final. Kremers was able to drive away to a 3.6 margin of victory for essentially clinching the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Championship at the end of Saturday's action.
Yeah, AJ Myers chased hard, but it was more of that battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. He was kind of in the scrap there, kind of holding everybody off, to be honest. Hunter Pickett had a pretty great run. He ends up finishing in 3rd, not able to get by Myers, although P4 went to Jake French. It was actually Kyle Wick, David, on the Track Magic, but he had a pushback bumper penalty.
Yeah, pushback bumper penalty to the Track Magic driver, so that dropped him out of the top 5, moving Jake French, who was trying to get by Myers early on, up to the fourth position with Billy Musgrave rounding out the top 5.
Hard charger on that race, Hannah Greenmeyers. They had an issue in the at the start of the pre-final, I believe it was. She ended up going to the tail of the field, I think. Whatever it was, she ended up starting 22nd, drove herself back up, but she was actually on a big-time charge, got to one of the groups, then fought her way through each group that she got to. Tremendous run for Hannah Greenmeyer on the LN chassis under the Rawlinson Performance Group tent, 22nd up to 6th. Any more info on that, David, as you recall?
Well, we'll get into that on Sunday because
true enough.
Move into Sunday. Yeah. Myers found a little bit more speed. I think when you talked to him during our EKN interview, he wasn't really happy with the set of tires he got on Saturday, and he thinks that might have been the culprit for his pace. Otherwise, he was on point all Sunday, setting fast time in qualifying, driving away to the win in the pre-final, and then went wire to wire in the main event. Driving up to a 2.9 second margin of victory for his second victory of the season.
Let's talk a bit about the craziness because Marion Kremers fell back at the green. There was contact between Kyle Wick and Hunter Pickett in turn number 3. Wick went down the inside. May have got a bit of curb. I saw some video. He was not happy with Pickett whatsoever. There was a couple of pushback bumper penalties. Andrew Bedozo was racing hard with Jake French. It was elbow on Championship Sunday.
Kremers got shuffled back on that opening lap, fell all the way back to 7th. I think he might have dropped a wheel coming out of the green corner, if I recall the correct colors for those. And so they were able to kind of shuffle by and slip by.
He may have got helped off the track as well, didn't he?
He might have been a little help too from Bedozo was then up into the second spot, so he was kind of playing defense for AJ Myers there on that opening lap. And as they went into turn 3, Wick went for the move on Pickett, and it almost looked like Bedozo came to almost a complete stop at the apex. So it kind of Wick had to kind of get on the binders a little bit harder, even though he was trying to go as deep as he could to get by Pickett through that corner. So a little bit of contact with Wick into Bedozo, and then Pickett was kind of there and involved in it as well. And those two got the worst of it and were kind of spun around and stopped and kind of ended their race right there and then. And then, as you said, Bedozo was a little bit of all over the place the rest of the race as well. Eventually, crossing the line in 5th, he got a pushback bumper penalty. A great fight for P3 after Kremers was able to get his way up into the second spot and kind of cruise there, actually earning fast lap of the race in the runner-up position. But a great little fight between French and Musgrave on the last couple of laps. Both of those former teammates at Croc Promotions USA going back and forth. French actually crossed the line ahead of Musgrave, but a pushback bumper penalty dropped him down to the 5th position.
Yeah, they were going at each other. It was over under. Musgrave slide in turn number 15. Man, they had a great battle back and forth for sure.
A clean battle too.
Oh, exactly that. Yeah. They weren't beating on each other. It was just making the moves you had to make, and it was again a ton of fun to watch. Second straight hard charger run for Hannah Greenmeyer. Again, starting back 23rd this time, back up to 6th again. Back-to-back 6th place finishes.
Yes, she had some kind of issue both days in the scoreboard corner. I'm not sure if one day was contact and the other was something else. I'm not exactly sure, but it was both days ending her pre-final in scoreboard corner. So a similar scenario and similar results in the main events for her as she was able to get up. So essentially passing 33 carts in both the main events.
There you go. Nicely done. Marion Kremers, as we talked about, the champion unofficially, of course, until Scusa comes out with the championships, but he wins the title by 145 points over AJ Myers. Jake French, yet again, a national number plate holder, P3 for PSL karting.
Yeah, Myers and French, they've kind of been the regular duo in the pro shifter category, obviously finishing 1-2 last year, now going 2nd and 3rd in 2022.
All right, let's jump in now to the KA100 senior class. Here's the headline. It's a good one. Calvo double dips with first 2 Pro Tour victories.
Yeah, this category was kind of chaotic all day, all weekend long. Excuse me, with the racing in the main events, even in the pre-finals too. Got a little heated and a little argy-bargy, as you would say. Alex Stanfield, one of those in the championship battles, actually leading the championship coming into the weekend based on total points, not looking at drops yet. He was able to gain 10 bonus points with fast lap in the pre-final, but his championship rival, Jeremy Fletcher, was able to score the pre-final victory, and he led the field to the green flag for the main event in what was a wild last couple of laps. It looked like we were going to have a couple drivers kind of deciding things, but they got racy, and one pack caught and then another pack caught. And I think it ended up being about 9 to 12 drivers there racing for the victory in those last couple of laps, if you recall, Rob.
Yeah, and what I said about this particular track, what we saw in the last couple laps, as soon as somebody went on the defensive down into turn number 3, which is the I-70 hairpin, defensive there, defensive in 5, you just lose so much momentum on the longer parts that everybody just closes up. David, you mentioned it. It was one group, then it was the next group. All of a sudden, we had like 15 drivers in the lead group on the final lap. Everybody realizing, hey, I'm gonna throw some haymakers here and see if I can't come up with something big. We saw guys diving left and right. The final laps were absolutely crazy, and the final corners were pretty wild as well.
Yeah, I think we had contact in scoreboard, or not scoreboard, cell tower, and then the blue corner that was leading up towards the tech building. So I think Frankie Mossman was one of them. He got knocked off the racetrack and out of the race. Adam Maxwell as well too. Yep. A couple others. However, it all happened because again, it was so chaotic. You were not really sure who was going to come away with it. Calvo was able to slip away from all that chaos and was able to lead through the final few corners to be able to score his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory. And
a very emotional one as well. We interviewed Oliver later. You can see it, of course, on social media, and we're going to put all our interviews up on YouTube as well. So look forward to seeing that on our YouTube channel. But Oliver, super emotional, after so many years, David, of trying, being on the podium, finally getting that first Pro Tour victory, wins by half a second over Jeremy Fletcher.
Yeah, he was one of my predictions all the time at the SummerNationals. He always kind of let me down. So this was it was good to see Calvo get that triumphant victory at the Pro Tour. He's always been kind of so close and kind of been right there, and nothing's ever really kind of fell his way in terms of luck. So this one certainly kind of went his way, and he was talking about crying again during that cool down lap. So you knew it was
having driven off the racetrack in the final corner.
That is true too. It was only one wheel. It wasn't the actual whole cart. So it was just, he did drop a wheel in the final corner, but luckily he had enough gap to be able to cross the line first.
That's so funny. He ends up with the win. I said almost 0.6 of a second. Fletcher finishing in second. Parker DeLong in third spot. Aiden Levy in fourth. And Peyton Phillips rounding out the top 5. Hard charger in race number 1 on Saturday. Adam Ali up 30 spots. Great run for him. Started 43rd. Knifed his way. Carved his way methodically up to 13th. So great job there for Adam. Dave, come Sunday, pretty interesting day all told with Jeremy Fletcher going for the championship.
Yeah, actually, I was looking at something. Sorry, I'd written it wrong.
Yeah, you can update that.
Yep.
I'm like, no, that's not it.
Good catch. Yep. So Fletcher coming in, needing really to kind of stay out of trouble. Didn't necessarily have it mathematically locked, but there's certainly going to Alex Stanfield needed a lot of help. But Fletcher wasn't one to help, as he went out and basically followed Stanfield through qualifying. Used him as a rabbit to set fast time in qualifying. So he got the 10 bonus points there, and then went on to win the pre-final. So earning maximum points there ahead of Stanfield. And then as they started the main event, a couple DNFs to begin the race, essentially locked up the championship for Fletcher. So all that was going to stop him was a disqualification. So certainly Fletcher was all in for the victory. And it was him and Saturday winner Oliver Calvo that kind of locked up and were able to kind of get away. Something that we didn't see happen on Saturday, as we talked about. This time, these two drivers were able to push and wait till that final last lap to be able to kind of fight it out between just those two drivers.
Yeah, and Fletcher just locked himself onto Calvo's rear bumper. Was absolutely perfect, right? Just stuck with them. They pulled away. They weren't going to have to worry about anybody else. Last lap, of course, gets super exciting. They come through turn number 13, which what do you call it? The blue corner, I think, the right-hander that leads back to the scale house.
Yep.
Little bump and run there, dives to the inside. Fletcher takes over the lead. Calvo goes back underneath him for the right finale through the left-hander, turn 15. Calvo gets to the inside. Fletcher goes off the racetrack. Calvo stays on track, comes back around. Fletcher, of course, off the racetrack, back across the grass, straight across the grass, essentially cuts straight across to hold him onto the cart and gets himself back on. He ends up coming across the line with the victory, but then penalties start coming down. You got a penalty for cutting the course and a penalty for unsafe re-entry back onto the course because he probably wasn't lifting, right? He was trying to go for the win, kept her pinned, and then also had a pushback bumper as well.
Yeah, a lot of penalties added on to Fletcher at the end of the race. So I think all in total, it was 21 seconds that he was assessed. So he had, as you said, the 15 for cutting track and unsafe re-entry, and then you add in the 6 more seconds for the pushback bumper. You get 21 seconds, which essentially put him down into what I believe was a 24th position. I'm looking here right now. 24th. So a 15-second penalty.
What do you think, Dan? I thought that was a lot. You're going side by side in the last corner. You're going for a race win on Championship Sunday. You go off the racetrack and come back on. I don't know that I don't know that the 15 seconds for unsafe re-entry is probably the right call. I definitely put him behind Calvo because he cut the track, right? But I don't know what unsafe re-entry. I don't know what you do. Like, you just get off the gas. You're going for the race win. Nobody's winning.
Well, there should have been a proper wall there in the first place because
could have been a barrier there. You're right.
There could have been a barrier there, which would have stopped that, and you wouldn't have to worry about it because the driver would have had to come to a stop or at least went around it rather than because there was a straight line directly from how many turns were on there? 16, 18?
Yeah. 16.
Okay.
So
turn 15.
Yep.
There's a straight drive from turn 15 all the way to the checkered flag without having to be on the concrete. So, or the pavement. That's the issue. Again, all these racetracks need to start putting in more barriers in certain locations, which, will stop cutting the racetrack or provide a safer, crashing zone areas.
I don't know that he was trying to cut the racetrack. He just went off. He didn't lift. Held on the outside.
Well, he didn't left, went straight for the checkered flag. There was no attempt to re-enter the racetrack where he went off again.
There's no way that's just not going to happen though.
It's not going to happen, but again, it's just the way that the track's laid out. And if you put up a Tech Pro barrier or the Scribner barriers in a proper location, it would stop that because there was no way you were going to get to the checkered flag without going through a wall.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
So it was a standard. That was the standard penalty that they assessed throughout the weekend because it wasn't the first time that we saw it happen. I want to say we saw it in micro, possibly. I don't know if it was. I think they only did a 10-second or maybe possibly 5-second for cutting the track, but the unsafe re-entry, that's 10 seconds by itself alone, I think.
And that's probably being full pin still coming through there.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the video or you see it in real life with our own eyes. I mean, there was no stopping. No. And even Calvo said he had to get off the gas so he wouldn't hit Jeremy as he came through and back onto the racetrack and to the other side of the racetrack in the grass.
I hear what you're saying. Okay. So good call. I'll take it.
It was unsafe. What's
the end result? Back-to-back wins for Oliver Calvo. He ends up coming out as the victor. Frankie Mossman ends up in second. And Josh Campbell, who was really impressive on the day, David, he ends up coming home P3.
Yeah, sir, his first Pro Tour podium in the KA 100 senior category. So a good run by Campbell, who typically is a shifter kart driver. So it's good to see him in the single speed get up there. Cedric Lupien in the 4th spot with Vinny Mascalis in the 5th spot. He was one of those fast drivers in Utah that wasn't quite able to score a finish, so he was able to do that here at Newcastle. Yeah,
Mascalis had a really strong run, especially on Sunday in the KA 100 senior class. Lupien, of course, as David, you said, finishing 4th. That was good enough for him to go to 3rd spot in the championship as well. Zach Meyer, hard charger, up 15 positions, started 23rd, ended up 28th. Fletcher wins the championship by 86 points over Alex Stanfield. It looks like it was going to be a good head-to-head battle, but Stanfield just got, he was fast. Alex was super fast all weekend, just kind of got shuffled around and kind of wasn't in the right place at the right time at times. And that was kind of the nature of the day, is the whole weekend, David, in this category where you could have been good, but you could also find yourself back in 8th had you got hung out to dry somewhere.
That's the hard part with the 43 drivers out there all going for victories, and you and another one are just focused on championship. So a little bit of that, I think maybe he was a little bit too conservative in certain scenarios, possibly. But again, just not quite the weekend that Stanfield needed to be able to set to be up there for the championship.
All right, another quick break, folks. When we get back to this race report presented by Skip Barber, Dave and I will talk about X30 Junior, KA100 Junior, and Master Shifter. Don't go anywhere. Established in 1999, PSL Karting has become a powerhouse within the karting industry for North America and around the world. PSL Karting is your complete source for all Burrell Art products as the North American importer, providing this top quality product through both their expansive dealer network or through the PSLkarting.com online store. Whatever you need is available 24/7 online, including safety gear, parts, components, and full karting packages. All three brands, Burrell Art, Ricardo Kart, and Charles Leclerc Karts, are in stock and ready to hit the track. Grab your winning chassis for any category by visiting PSLkarting.com to find your nearest dealer. PSL Karting is always looking for interest in new dealers and teams to help create new business relationships. Drivers looking to take their talents to the next level can join the Burrell Art North America race team, competing at all the major U.S. and Canadian events this season. When you're ready to win, go with PSL Karting. You can buy all the latest and greatest products on the market, but when you're karting to win, it boils down to one thing: you, the driver. Gain the knowledge and abilities by investing in yourself at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, and you'll find those extra tenths of a second you need to put yourself on the podium. The school was established by Superkarts USA Hall of Fame driver Alan Rudolph, with decades of victories and championships in multiple forms of the sport, including other disciplines of racing. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, located at the Speed Sports Racing Park in the metropolitan Houston area, is designed to teach driving skills at all levels. The instructors of the Academy have decades of racing experience and educating drivers of all ages. Classes at the Academy will teach the concepts and skills needed both behind the wheel and off the track. From the beginning kart racing experience and intro to karting courses, to their advanced 1-day and 2-day courses and karting clinics, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can improve the skills of any driver. For more information on the specific programs that the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can provide for you, head to speedsports.com and click on the Racing Academy page. Be sure to follow the Academy on social media by searching for Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Welcome back to episode number 99 of the EKN Debrief as we break down the Superkarts USA SummerNationals Pro Tour finale at Newcastle Motorsports Park. We'll jump into the X30 Junior class right now. And here's your headline: Weldon claims first 2 SCUSA Pro Tour victories.
Yeah, again, as we talk about with the by the numbers, this category had a number of drivers that were capable of winning, and the quality of the field was superb. Speaking of, Max Garcia, the May driver of the month for ekartingnews.com, set fast time in qualifying. The pre-final, however, multiple penalties were dished out in what was a little bit of a wild race there, and it ended up being Cameron Brinkman, who has certainly been one of the hotter drivers here in the early part of the second half of the season. Agreed. Coming away with the pre-final victory. That set up for a little bit of a chaotic main event with drivers towards the back, including Sebastian Weldon, who started 19th after getting put off in the last lap of the pre-final. So he was a driver on the charge. I mean, just the speed this kid had in the main event was just unreal, passing drivers at will, no matter how he wanted to do it, and was able to eventually move all the way from 19th into the lead ahead of Caleb Gaffera. That looked like it was just going to be these two drivers that were kind of going to battle for the victory, but a little bit of defensive and trying to get around slowed them up, so it allowed the rest of the lead group to kind of close in and make for a little bit of a wild last lap there.
Yeah, indeed. I think Gaffer was kind of hanging with him there and trying to hold that spot and, set up for potential battle at the end. But then with about 2 to go, Sebastian started to run those defensive lines. And like I said, in this particular layout, it brings everybody back into the fight. And it got pretty hectic. Weldon did end up getting the win by 4/10 over Gaffer, and David Brinkman finishing on the podium as well.
Yeah, Helio Meza finishing in the 4th spot with Jesus Vasquez Jr. in 5th. And much of that has to do with the contact on that final lap between Max Garcia and Aiden Ingrata. I think Ingrata was the driver who just came from nowhere and kind of just plowed through the field there at the scoreboard corner. Actually did a couple of spins in the air, a couple of revolutions there around, as he collected Max Garcia and a couple of other karts as well too. So they finished outside, obviously, the top 10, and certainly hurt both their championship performances moving forward, with Caleb sitting there in the 2nd spot.
Yeah, most definitely. It kind of broke things open for Gaffer quite a bit because, again, Ingrata making that kind of a deep move to the inside, got aggressively into the back of Garcia. And as you said, a little bit of chaos ensued after that, both those drivers going off. Weldon, as you mentioned, starting back in 19th, was the hard charger, not surprisingly, working his way to the race win. And again, as we said, Weldon, Gaffer, Brinkman, Meza, and Vasquez Jr., the top 5. Moving into Sunday, Caleb Gaffer, though, kind of knew what he had to do. They probably sat down and went over the numbers. He was super quick out of the gate, qualified on the pole, won the pre-final as well.
Yeah, set the mark. Had to get the bonus points, got those in qualifying, and then scored maximum points in the pre-final to kind of put the pressure on Ingrata as they were in the race. It kind of depended on who was ahead of who, and then who also had the fast lap bonus. That's kind of what we were focusing on throughout the main event, because it was both those drivers along with Weldon that were making up the lead group. So you had 3 drivers, 2 of them in the championship hunt, and then one of them looking to pick up his 2nd victory of the weekend. So that was the focus of the main event.
And David, it was exciting because Ingrata was able to get to 2nd, and he was really fast for the first half of the race. So he had the purple lap and the 10 bonus points, right? And plus he was in front of Gaffer. So you were doing the math. He was going to win the championship by 2 points. But then Gaffer went back and got him, and it kind of went back and forth.
That's right. I think Weldon had fast lap at 1.2, so he had taken the 10 bonus points away from both of them.
That's it.
And then as we got into the later half of the race, as you mentioned, Ingrata was good at early part of the race. Gaffer was a little bit quicker than both of those in the second half, able to get the fast lap bonus points for himself, and then position himself into the 2nd spot. And the main object he had was to push Weldon away from Ingrata, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, and I think he probably had championship on his mind. He was, probably could have got at it, went for the race win maybe a little more aggressively. But Weldon did a tremendous job up front, holding his position, and ended up getting the victory. It wasn't by much, 89 thousandths of a second at the line. Weldon with back-to-back wins, his first 2 on the Pro Tour. So big weekend for Sebastian. Caleb Gaffer coming home in 2nd. That 2nd place enough to top Aiden Ingrata in the championship by 38 points. Helio Meza once again in the top 5, as was Cameron Brinkman. They were 4th and 5th respectively. So a couple of top 4s for Meza, who was really good all weekend long. A lot of speed from him. Actually was, David, the hard charger in that Sunday main event. Started 20th and got himself up to P4.
Yeah, Contact, I think, dropped him to the tail of the field in the pre-finals. So, again, Meza, I think this was only his 2nd weekend in the X30 category. So good performance by what is normally the KA100 junior regular.
And to put a cap on that class, the X30 junior class, Max Taylor getting the national number 3 plate, 182 points behind Gaffer, but Taylor finishing P3. Aiden Ingrata, of course, running double duty like so many, KA100 Junior, and here is the headline. Ingrata doubles up in class debut.
Yeah, the double duty certainly is prominent in the junior category. Yep. Both categories utilizing the same tire. So I think that has a lot to do with the reason why we're seeing a lot of the drivers doing that double duty. Ingrata making his KA100 Junior debut on the season certainly made himself known throughout the weekend. But to begin with, it was Caleb Gaffer, who's been in the championship hunt coming into the weekend, not having a victory though. But came in as the championship leader without a victory. Set fast time in qualifying. The main event was a little bit of a chaotic, or pre-final was a little bit chaotic, as similar to what we saw in X30 Junior, with Spencer Conrad earning the victory after provisional winner Cooper Shipman was penalized, along with a number of other drivers. Eventually, after a couple of wild opening laps, Gaffera was the driver at the point, coming all the way up from the 16th position to what was eventually a 4-driver battle. It was Gaffera and both the Iron Rock Motorsports drivers, Shipman and Meza, along with who was Ingrata. So those were the 4 drivers that were making up the lead group and battling it out there in the last couple of laps. As they made their way through the final couple of laps, it was Ingrata that was able to escape with that top position as he edged out Cooper Shipman by 83 thousandths at the line.
Yeah, the Iron Rock Motorsports guys worked well together. The minute they kind of got themselves up there, you knew that they were going to be able to play well together and get some good spots. Cooper Shipman coming second, Elio Mesa third, Jesus Vasquez Jr. a crucial 4th place finish. Cameron Brinkman ends up in 5th, but Vasquez Jr., of course, in the middle of the championship fight, battling it out with Caleb Gaffera. He ends up getting 4th. It was actually Gaffera 4th on the racetrack, but a pushback bumper dropped him to 8th. So, David, that was a bit of a swing in terms of the championship because it put Vasquez in a better spot for Sunday. And then hard charger Charlie Smith, 22 spots up, started 38th, ended up in 16th.
Yeah, that certainly set the stage for Vasquez to be the controller in the championship chase and put a little pressure on Gaffera to be able to perform on Sunday. And the 10 bonus points didn't go to either one, as Diego Ardiles was able to set fast time in the session. But Gaffera was able to come through and power his way up to the front in the pre-final, so he got maximum points there. And then as we entered the main event, Vasquez essentially needed to finish P7 or better to be able to secure the championship. At one point, I think we saw 9 drivers in the lead pack.
Yeah.
And so a little bit questionable as to what was going to happen in terms of the championship. Obviously, Caleb needed to score a victory and get the bonus points for fast lap of the race. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do either of those. But there was certainly a little bit of nail biting in the Nash Motorsports tent as the laps went by, and there were 9 drivers sitting there in the lead pack.
Oh, that was it, right? At one point, there were Vasquez was holding on. He was right there. They, I think, 4th and 5th. They had built a big gap up to everybody behind them. But once the defensive stuff started again, everybody came back in, and you never know. All it takes is somebody to get streamed by, and Jesus could have found himself back in 8th or 9th. Indeed, able to hold on to P5. It was the same top 4 guys battling up front, David, as you had said. Ingrata, Mesa, Gaffera, and Shipman. Ingrata ended up getting another win, 0.5 tenth of a second quicker. Mesa finishing in 2nd spot. All told, a really strong weekend for Elio Mesa. 4 races, all finishing in the top 4 across X30 Junior and KA100 Junior. So a tremendous run for him. In the end, Vasquez winning the championship over Gaffera by 59 points. Cooper Shipman, 193 points back. And last but not least, Emma Kate Scarborough, who had great speed throughout the weekend in the Herallis Performance Group Cosmic, started 31st, drove her way up to 19th position as the hard charger for Sunday's round number 6.
Yeah, Brinkman was that driver we saw at the USPKS Road America that was scoring 4 top 5 results in both the junior categories this weekend. Elio Meza being that driver, that kind of breakthrough performance to be able to score, as you said, top 4 finishes in both junior categories.
Yeah, really
crazy run. Again, that's why I said the junior categories certainly have a quality field in both X30 Junior and KA100 Junior.
Let's cap off this segment and talk about Master Shifter. We touched a little bit on Justin Kelly in our Paddock Pass section, but here's the headline. Kelly and Crow earn season firsts.
Yeah, it was a surprise not only to see Kelly in the paddock when we arrived, but to see him perform on Saturday. It was a dominant victory on Saturday in the Master Shifter category, as Kelly would go on to set fast time in qualifying, lead every lap of the pre-final, and just drive away to his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory in the main event, winning by 5.6 seconds over some some great veteran drivers in the master shifter category.
Yeah, Kelly, again, showed his speed, his hand really quickly in qualifying and really just never let up. Once he was out front, got the job done. 5.6 seconds the advantage. AJ Nowd ends up finishing in the second spot. John Crow had a strong run. Interesting for Crow on Saturday, running the KZ power plant on the factory cart, moved to the IME SSE on the Sunday, having saw what Kelly was able to do. So that was the end of the podium there. Mike Rivera ends up fourth, and Robert Feige, David, capping off and getting that unofficial championship with his fifth place finish in the Master Shifter class on Saturday.
Yeah, Mike Riviera with the hard charger in Saturday's main event, getting up 5 spots from 9th to the 4th position. So he was a hard charger. And yeah, Feige able to secure the championship with that P5 finish. So one of the 4 drivers to be able to do that at the end of Saturday's action.
Now, a little different on Sunday. Kelly didn't have quite the pace in qualifying, which kind of changed things up a little bit. He wasn't able to be out front and run away. It was Now that was able to get the fastest lap. Michael Gouache actually stepping up big time. I think he whole shotted him too, potentially, and was able to get the pre-final win. That set up for a really exciting main event.
Yeah, he wasn't able to be in the fight there for the main event victory, as Crow grabbed the whole shot in that race, and he had AJ Nowd and Justin Kelly on his rear bumper the entire 18 laps of the main event. Neither Nowd nor Kelly were able to get around the Crow show, as he made his cart a little bit wider than what it appeared to be. Just being very tough, as we've seen over the years, to be able to pass him. And I give credit to Nowd and Kelly both. They could have made things a little bit interesting, and they chose not to. Gentlemen drivers, as they all were, and performed. And Crow, as you said, making that move from the KZ over to the IME SSE 175, able to put factory carts on top of the podium in the Master Shifter category.
Yeah, big win for the American-made factory cart. Again, that's the chassis that Billy and Willie Musgrave designed and construct themselves, and Crow having a good time running there with Billy, as we had said. Michael Gouache ends up in the 4th spot. Chatfield rounds out the top 5. Brian Chatfield was the hard charger, started 11th, worked his way up to P5. Robert Feige, as we said, wins the championship. Ken Schilling finishing in 2nd, and Michael Gouache, national number 3, wrapping it up P3 on that championship. All right, let's go to another break in the action. When we get back, we'll wrap things up. Let's cap off this edition of the Debrief, and at least the Race Report segment, as we talk about Mini Swift and Micro Swift after this break. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, the United States Pro Kart Series, the SCUSA SuperNationals 25, and other events throughout the 2022 season. TKG has in stock Kart Republic, IAME, MG and Avinco tires, and more products for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history of the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. Cometic Gasket is a leading worldwide supplier of gaskets and engine sealing solutions for karting, automotive performance, power sports, original equipment, and the remanufactured engine industries. Cometic karting gaskets are available as OE replacement top-end kits or as individual gaskets and seals. Just like competitive karters, Cometic can operate on the fly and has the unique capability to customize any gasket to meet specific engine requirements and clearances. All of Cometic's fiber materials are asbestos-free and do not require any additional sealants. Viton oil ring cylinder head seals are used in each 2-cycle kit, and Comedic's 4-cycle engine kits feature only the most advanced multi-layer steel head gaskets. Comedic can tailor to engine builder-specific needs through bulk ordering and packaging flexibility. Comedic gaskets are must-haves for championship-winning teams across multiple disciplines of both professional and amateur motorsports. Comedic gasket, sealing championships since 1989. Back at it here on the EKN Radio Network with episode number 99 of our EKN Debrief podcast, where we dive into one of the events we've recently been trackside at. This one, of course, the SCUSA SummerNationals Pro Tour finale. Into the race report here. We'll cap things off. This race report brought to you by Skip Barber. Here's the Mini Swift category. Number of drivers doubling up on the weekend. This one included Harvick doubles for career firsts in Mini Swift.
Yeah, Harvick was one of those drivers who was not at the Spring Nationals in Utah, was down in NOLA, didn't pick up the victory that weekend, certainly making his SCUSA Pro Tour Mini Swift debut that weekend. So this was really only his second weekend in the Mini Swift category, ran obviously the Winter Series program, has been picking up a number of victories in USPKS competition as well too, but still was winless on the Pro Tour in the Mini Swift category up until this weekend. Gage Bailey, another driver looking to get his first Pro Tour victory, set fast time in qualifying, but it was Harvick that would go on to win the pre-final. And then in the main event, it was the top two drivers of Harvick and Lucas Palacio that were able to kind of get away and be able to decide the victory between those two. Harvick able to hold off Palacio to the finish line. Palacio ended up crossing the line in second, but was docked 3 seconds for blocking towards the end of the race, if I recall correctly, or might have been in the middle part. That promoted Asher Osteen up into the second spot. That put Michael McGow into the third. Did I say that right?
I think so. I think they say Michael McGoy.
McGoy, yes, McGoy. Jack Iliff ended up in fourth, and that essentially gave him the provisional championship with the fourth place finish there. Well, Johnny Stamps rounded out the top five.
Yeah, Johnny Stamps had a good weekend, all told, throughout the entire Summer Nationals. Oxteen, as you said, in second, McGoy in third, and still, even with the penalty, David Palacio being the hard charger, he started back in 20th and powered his way forward to second, as we had said. Ended up sixth after the penalty, but again, just an issue there for blocking. On Sunday, Asher Oxteen, though, came out of the gate. He was the quickest driver in qualifying.
Yeah, Harvick and Palacio were working together in qualifying. We saw them running nose to tail, but they were about 7th or 8th overall when the checkered flag waved on the session, as Asher was able to put himself on top of the timesheets in qualifying. He was shuffled down, however, as Harvick and Palacio worked together again. This time it was Palacio that made a great move in the final few corners to be able to score the win in the pre-final. And then again, working together, the top two nose to tail got away from the rest of the field. Jack Iliff was there for a little bit. Unfortunately, he lost a draft as the race moved on. And essentially, it looked like Palacio was going to be able to challenge him, but dropping the wheel on the last lap on the exit of turn 3 essentially gave Harvick a clear path to the checkered flag, scoring his second victory on the weekend.
Yeah, a big weekend for Harvick to make it all happen. And again, you see the drivers as we get to the second half of the season when they're rookies, they step things up, as you said. Harvick with the win by 1.7 seconds. Palacio, Iliff, Roberts, and Bailey rounding out the top 5. Devin Waltz, the hard charger, 18th spots up, started 31st, ended up 13th. And Iliff winning that championship over Lucas Palacio. Tremendous job for Palacio, his rookie season. In Mini Swift, ends up finishing in second, the number 2 plate. Iliff, David, how impressive is this young kid? 3 championships over 4 years, 2 titles in micro, second last year in mini, and then moves up 1 step. 3 titles over 2 years. Iliff's a special young driver for sure.
Yeah. So, I was going to say the Sunday podium, 2 rookies, 1-2, and then Palacio, the top rookie in the championship. Finishing that in second spot. But Iliff certainly among the top cadet drivers for the United States, certainly been racing over in Europe, getting more and more comfortable there with the factory Paralin team over there. but certainly has his CV set in stone with this third championship in 4 years.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's move to Microswift to cap off our race report segment of this edition of the Debrief. Here's your headline for Microswift. Procuna and Orbezo secure first career wins.
Yeah, always love to see the first victories there by Microswift drivers. And we saw a number of them, obviously, Rocco Simoni and Troy Ferguson, both earning 2 victories on the season. And they came in as the championship leaders. But the rest of the field were all gunning for victories on the weekend. One of those, obviously, Procuna being one of them. But the driver everybody was chasing to begin the weekend was Jackson Gibson. A driver that was, again, trying to race his way up onto the championship podium, set fast time in qualifying, was able to win the pre-final. If I recall, he got a little bit shuffled out there at the start of the main event, so that kind of hurt his chances. Oh, no, actually, he was in the fight.
No, he was in the scrap.
Yeah. I forgot. Yes, I was trying to remember. That was Sunday. So yeah, Saturday. What was it? I would say about 6 drivers maybe in the lead group on Saturday's main event. Gibson being one of them, and of course Rocco Simoni being the other. They were the 2 leaders as they made their way through the final lap. Turn 15, again, a very crucial part on that last lap segment. Simoni was on the inside. Gibson tried to make the run on the outside because Simoni went defensive. The 2 made contact on the exit. That sent Gibson off into the grass as he made his way through the grass and rejoined near that start-finish line, kind of similar to what we saw with Jeremy Fletcher, but a little bit slower version of it being the Microswift category. That allowed Simoni to actually cross the line as the provisional winner. Unfortunately, he was penalized 5 seconds for contact. And then with Gibson crossing the line in second, he was given a 5-second penalty for cutting the racetrack. So that essentially moved Procuna up into the top spot, earning his first Pro Tour victory.
Yeah, indeed. Royce Vega coming home in second. Drew Waltz rounding out the top 3. Parker Ives and Antonio Pizzognanito finishing in the 4th and 5th positions. Mateus Ramalho actually hard charger rather, started 26th, able to get his way up into a strong top 10 finish. And then based off the momentum, David, of the win on Saturday, Procuna goes P1 in qualifying on Sunday morning.
Yeah, he was a quick driver all weekend long, in the mix all weekend long to kind of put himself there. Wasn't at the Spring Nationals, so again, this was my first time seeing him at the. He was at the Winter Nationals down in NOLA, and wasn't quite in the pace that he showed this weekend. Something about maybe the Newcastle track that he certainly likes, but Procuna was there, fast time in qualifying. A good race in the pre-final as Jackson Gibson came from outside the top 10 to be able to score that race win. But a little bit of chaos at the start. If I recall, the opening corner, which is turn 3 for the main event, Matthew Cagle, I believe, was on the outside, Gibson on the inside. They kind of made some contact. I think Cagle got spun in the middle of the racetrack, and everybody was sent scattering. So it shuffled up the field a bunch. Put obviously Gibson towards the back. It put Cagle towards the back, and another one, Troy Ferguson, one of the championship contenders, the double Winter Nationals winner. He was back all the way to, I believe, 17th at the start or at the opening lap of the main event.
In the end, the battle came down to the final of a couple of corners, and in that 14-15 combination, lots of lead changes throughout the entire event, but Nicolas Orbezo, David, ends up coming with the win with a pass in the penultimate corner.
Yeah, it was him and Marco Samut that were battling it out on the final circuit. Marco had the lead leading up into that corner. And Orbezo just made a great move. I saw the beginning of it. I didn't see the ending of it because I was at the scale building, and was able to come across the line to score that first Pro Tour victory. Royce Vega ending up in the 3rd position with Ramalho, another hard charger performance coming from 18th all the way up into the 4th spot. Certainly that little bit of chaos in the opening lap certainly probably helped him gain some spots there, with Drew Waltz ending up in the 5th position.
Yeah, 2 top 5s for Drew Waltz, and as you said, 2 hard chargers for Mateus Romalho. The championship ended up with Simone and Ferguson tying. This is not what we said during the broadcast. I think we had just talked that Simone had got the win outright for the championship. But David, you went back into it and looked at it deeper, obviously, when you realized that Ferguson, I think, had the fast lap. I believe that's what it was. It was actually a tie, you're saying, in overall points.
Yeah, it was a wild finish. Again, the lead group was jostling it up, and this allowed a second group, kind of what we saw in some other categories, to close in on that final lap. And one of them being Troy Ferguson, who we said was back into the 17th position. He actually crossed the line in 7th spot, 1 position behind Rocco Simone.
On his bumper.
And on his bumper.
Yeah.
And I did not know that he had fast lap of the race because, again, I'm trying to do photos. I'm trying to, get scale videos. I'm trying to calculate points. There's just not enough of me to go around. So doing our unofficial tallying this yesterday and this morning, the hard charger made it a tie, 317 points for both drivers. So they came in tied 1,115 points each, and they end the weekend 317 points each to make it a tie. Based on the tiebreaker, according to Superkarts USA website, it is based on heads-up racing in terms of the main events. Well, Simone was able to beat Ferguson in 4 of the 6 main events. So that's essentially is the tiebreaker. So 4-2.
Wow, that's amazing. And kudos to both those drivers on really, really strong seasons, and Ferguson coming in. And that was kind of the chaos in the end. Like we said, the battling up front, the guys up front had things handled. Then everybody started reeling in with the blocking that was going on, the defensive running that was going on. That's what brought Ferguson back into it. Simone was, I think, at 2nd or 3rd at one point. He got shuffled back to 6th or 7th. It was just the chaos at the end was wild, and of course, it ends up playing.
Yeah, he was leading at one point. We thought the championship's in hand.
and Ferguson was like 5. I want to say he was over 7 seconds back at one point.
At least, 17th. He was 17th when he crossed the line. And it wasn't, again, it got shuffled up all because of the turn 3 incident on that opening lap. And again, I literally left the attic thinking, okay, well, Ferguson's not going to close up that amount of gap over 18 laps. There's no way.
And he did.
He did.
Couple of podium finishes for Royce Vega to put him P3, national number 3 for Royce, 148 points back of that tie-breaking battle up front between Simone and Ferguson. All right, that wraps up the class-by-class race reports. When we get back after this final break in this edition of the Debrief, we'll look at the wrap things up. We'll look at the Constructors' Championship. We'll have a look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. When we get back after this break, we'll cap off this edition of the Debrief.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
The Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is where out-of-the-box ease and outstanding consistency meet to create legendary races. Briggs & Stratton's history in motorsports dates back to when the first engines came off the assembly line in the early 1900s. Their focus on the grassroots level continues to help build generations of racers. Since 2008, the Briggs & Stratton 206 has gained a following that has the engine powering the largest fields in North American karting today. From the club level and track programs to traveling regional series and national events, Briggs & Stratton competition provides the most exciting racing in the sport. Engineered and hand-built exclusively for racing, every Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is power tested and serialized before it goes in the box. Karters can take that engine straight from the box to their kart and be on the podium at the end of race day. Be sure to follow Briggs & Stratton Racing on Facebook and through @RaceBriggs on Instagram. To learn more about the 206 engine or to find the North American dealer near you, head to BriggsRacing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing, what powers you? Welcome back to episode number 99 of the EKN Debrief as we wrap things up for the Superkarts USA Summer Nats on our EKN trackside coverage. My name is Rob Howden. David Cole, of course, joining us here. I was up in the booth the entire weekend with Xander Clements and Kart Chaser Cole, as he said, doing quadruple duty with everything that we were doing to provide the content throughout the weekend. And big thank you to those of you who dropped us messages loving the content. We had David, you mentioned we had the videos coming off the scales. We had the race report, all the social media coverage with the top 10s. We did our just our stuff on Instagram as well. We did a bunch of interviews at the end of the day. We've been doing those lately as well. So those will be available all as a combined unit on YouTube as well. David, great job, man. My man on this weekend. You were busting your ass all weekend long, and I do appreciate it. Let's wrap things up, though. 8 straight Summer Nationals at Newcastle Motorsports Park. It really is kind of the home now of the Summer Nats, of obviously the Kutchers and the Dismores. Love working together for the program. People talk about the national reverse layout. I love it. There are so many places to pass, and that 3-5 combination, the way it all plays out, especially on the opening laps and on the last laps, man, it makes for some great racing at the end.
Well, it takes away the draft victories. That's what I love about it, because you can set up a draft in the early part of the lap, but you still got to get through the second half of the lap in order to be good and be able to come across the line as the winner. And so it puts more emphasis on driving than it does drafting. And I love that, because I love, there's passes at the green corner, passes at the scale building, passes in turn 15, and even drivers trying the slingshot move just at the start finish line. As we saw, Ingrata won both his races by under 1/10 of a second. So there were photo finishes, not quite the same ones we're used to with the long drafting, defending line or 3 wide. It wasn't quite that finish, but it was still some exciting finishes on the weekend. Again, I think overall, the racing is much better in the reverse direction.
Well, I can't disagree with you on that. Here's the one thing. When it comes to national level racing for SCUSA, it's all about the Super Nationals right now. The focus going on Las Vegas. They do have a race at Santa Maria for the Pro Kart Challenge. But, man, national-wise for Superkarts USA, next up, the 25th edition of the Super Nats. We talked a lot about it in the paddock. It was a lot of chatter talking about getting back to Vegas.
It certainly was. It being the 25th edition of the Super Nationals, going back to the Rio, going back to the unofficial home of the Super Nationals. We already talked about all the master stuff going on, and then just there's the prize money. I know we haven't published it on the website, but SCUSA did put it on their website over the weekend, something we weren't aware of until Sunday talking with Tom Kutcher.
We'll jump on that.
He's going to have, $15,000 to win in Pro Shifter and X30 Senior. So a big money going up for grabs. So again, we don't have much time, even though it may seem like it's going to be a long time. It's going to come quickly. And I can't wait to get to Vegas in November.
Yeah, expect lots of news about the Super Nationals coming this week and in weeks to come for sure. David, let's have a look at the Constructors' Championship. 8 different brands scoring wins over the 16 main events.
Yeah, no number of different brands scoring victory. That's what we like to see. We like to see the diversity of the chassis winners on the weekend. 3 different chassis, however, winning 3 different times on the weekend. Cosmic, CRG, and Parolin all picking up 3 victories. Red Speed and Ellen Racing Kart picking up 2. Burrell Art, Magic Kart, and Factory Kart all earning 1 victory. So a good spread of victories in the chassis side of the weekend.
And just looking at the top 3 that have 3 different constructors as well, not just brands.
Manufacturers,
right?
Correct.
Manufacturers,
exactly.
3 different manufacturers scoring those 3, which I thought was great. And then, of course, you throw in the Factory Kart win, the American-made kart that Billy Musgrave makes that won with John Crow. So, all in all, good lineup of race winners as part of the Constructors' Championship breakdown. Let's wrap it all up and just cap things off with having a little look at where we're going to be with EKN Trackside over the next couple of months. This edition of the Race Calendar brought to you by Margay. Are you interested in running a kart at one of the biggest karting events in the country? Do you want to be part of the fastest growing series in the sport? Check out Margay Racing's Spec Ignite class and their Arrive and Drive packages. Nothing matches the affordability and competitive level of the Ignite program. It's just one set of tires, national level caliber drivers, and where the best driver wins over the best equipment. Bring your safety gear, and Margay will take care of the rest. Run with Margay at the Rock Island Grand Prix this coming Labor Day weekend. And there are 5 Ignite Challenge Series running around the country this season. For more information, please visit ignitekarting.com today. Get off the couch and into a race seat in 2022. Speaking of Rock Island, David, where you and I have both run with Margay actually as part of their Ignite program, that's the next event for us. Here we are on August the 2nd. We got a month with no karting events that we'll be traveling to at least. And there is kind of a bit of a break in the national action. There are some regional races. There's going to be a lot of club races, but nationally, everybody kind of getting a bit of a breath here. Rock Island next up on Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, 30 days from now, I will be heading my way towards the Quad Cities, Rock Island, and Illinois, and Rock Island Grand Prix, getting ready to make what I think is my 18th visit to the Rock Island. So every year since 2004, I have been at the Rock Island Grand Prix. Obviously not there during the pandemic, but set to be back, calling the action from Saturday and Sunday. Lots of updates and photos and just having fun on and off the racetrack at Rock Island Grand Prix.
And then after that, a couple weeks later, you will be back to Newcastle Motorsports Park once again, the USPKS Hoosier State Grand Prix, the September 16th to 18th weekend, capping off that championship as well.
Yeah, excited to wrap up the 2022 season. This is the 10th year for United States Pro Kart Series, so we'll get to decide the 7 different champions in those IAME categories. I think one's already kind of wrapped up with Ryan Norberg defending that X30 Pro Championship with 6 straight victories in that category. But the rest of the categories certainly going to be up in the air and get 2 rounds of racing in at Newcastle Motorsports Park. It'll be my second of 4 visits to come in the end of the second half of the season.
Yeah, looking at the race calendar, we're talking about September, but we were back for 2 races at Newcastle in October as well. David and I will both be racing in the Cup Karts North America Grand National. Looking forward to that one. And then just a couple of days later, we'll be there for the U.S. Trophy Final, the Race Rotax program for the U.S., getting in there to figure out who's going to be part of Team USA for the Rotax Grand Finals here in 2022. David, that wraps things up for this edition of the EKN Debrief. We had a good look at the SKUSA SummerNationals. All told, man, at the end of the weekend, having a cold beer with the Kellys and everybody else, it was just great weekend. And again, the weather was perfect. It was hot, but it wasn't crazy hot, not crazy humid. We woke up to rain at the hotel in the morning, so we dodged that bullet. All in all, couldn't have asked for much more for this year's SummerNationals.
Yeah, we did dodge that bullet, although, it's been one of those bullets I've been able to dodge all year long, which is ironic. So yeah, hopefully we continue that trend as we move on throughout the season, but you never know with the fall months coming in and us being in Newcastle, Indiana once again. So yeah, looking forward to closing out the second half of the season with a lot of racing, a lot of different types of racing, all the way from Briggs to shifter karts to Rotax, a lot of different racing that'll be coming up, and excited to see how the season concludes as we move forward.
Indeed, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We do appreciate it. It was a great run this year at the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. We look forward to the Super Nationals, the 25th edition of that amazing event, hitting that 25-year mark. We'll see that in November at the Rio All Suite Hotel and Casino. Again, big thank you to the Kutchers for having us back for another season, our 13th season. Of course, we've covered all of the Pro Tour races since it launched back in 2010. We look forward to doing many, many more. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.